As an artist, I'm always looking for easy ways to execute strokes or to help me with my painting. And just recently, I noticed a brush in our line called the round stroke that I discovered, and I want to share it with you today. I have a couple of them over here. I have a number 10, a number 6, and a number 2. And you can see that it's very similar to a round brush, but it comes more to a point at the top to help you with stroke execution. So I want to share a couple of brush strokes and some strokes with you today. I'm going to be using the number 6. I wash out the sizing that's in my brush and I just kind of wipe it on my paper towel so that I don't have a lot of water in there, and I want to make sure that I don't have a water bubble in there that's going to flood me as well. I'm going to go into my dark value of green and I'm just going to load the tip more than the rest of the brush into that color. Again, make sure you don't have any water in there, and I don't carry the paint any further than the very tip of the brush. What happens is the bottom of this will help you with that stroke if you leave those hairs clean. I'm going to start with my handle straight up and down. I'm using my wrist, my elbow, and my shoulder. So if I slant my brush, I can't execute the stroke as easily. So I'm going to have my handle straight up and down, and this is going to be my elevator finger here. I'm going to lay the hairs down and let them rest for just a minute, and then I'm going to begin to pull that stroke. And as I pull that stroke, I'm lifting with my wrist. I can come back up on that tip and see what a beautiful edge that gives you with that nice tip. I'm going to load back into my darker green again, stay up on my tip, lay it down flat, and begin to pull. Use your wrist to start lifting it. If you find that you're having a little bit of trouble manipulating that up and down movement, you can either use your hold a little lower on the brush or a little bit higher. My pinky finger seems to help with that. I'm going to load one more time. If I want perfectly executed strokes each time and my tail to be nice and thin, I wash out between each stroke. Come back up on my tip, and you can make that last as long as you want that to be. Another fun variation of this particular stroke is by adding another color or a couple of colors. I'm going to go back into that basic green color that I had, and then I'm going to tip it. I'm just going to put a little of that lighter value green right up on the tip. I'm going to make sure that I don't have a water bubble in there that's going to flood me. Again, I'm going to be straight up on the tip. I'm going to lay those hairs down flat, and I'm going to begin to pull. And you'll see that there's a nice streaking or change in color for that. I like to load for every stroke rather than trying to use the same paint that I have in there each time, because it keeps the stroke more developed and keeps the color more true. I love the way that I can get that variation of color so nice and easy. The other thing that this brush does really, really well are lifelines and ribbons. I'm going to go into red because it's one of my very, very favorite colors. I'm going to load the brush, and you'll notice that you can almost turn this brush into a flat in the way that you load it. Again, I'm going to start way up on the tip of my brush, and there's a couple of variations to this stroke as well. A lot of times you'll come in and you have just that straight line and then the lay down and straight line, more like a rick-rack style stroke. And this works wonderful for a border design. If you're looking for something that's a little bit softer, you can add a curve and maybe a highlight value to your paint. So I'm staying with the same red, I'm just tipping it in a lighter value at the top. And rather than being so stringent and straight in the lines, I'm going to curve them. So I'm going to come up, lay it down, come back up, lay it down, come back up, lay it down. And it will last for a really long time. So don't be afraid to load your brush when you're getting ready to start that. This makes a really great border design. You can add some little lines in between there. You can come back and you can add some little flowers in between, some more comma strokes if you'd prefer. I'm keeping these really small and evenly spaced and soft. So I do have a little bit of water, and I'm not washing out between each one because I want them to be a little bit more transparent. If I want them to be high textured strokes, I'm sure each time to load them. One of the really great things about traveling is I get an opportunity to visit different stores and check out different kinds of opportunities. And one of the things that I'm really excited about are in the scrapbooking line. A lot of the papers and the stamps and everything that they're using now have a lot of the same scroll designs that we've been using in decorative painting for a while. And I came up with a little idea on how to use this in the corner. And it's sort of a freestyle, but don't be afraid of it. you're just going to start in the corner and then give yourself a little flatness on your brush and then bring it around and give yourself a swirl. Now this is difficult to do unless the handle is straight up and down, and then you're able to make that stroke really nice and easy. If I want to embellish this, I want this to look just a little bit fancier, I can always add a little comma stroke to the end of it. I can come and start on the tip of my brush and lay this down. And these are just going to be real freestyle. They're done a lot in a basic color with maybe a highlight to the top of them. So if I had a dark green background, I would be doing this with light, or if I had a gold background, I would be doing this with maybe a real soft creamy color. I can carry this back up. I'm just going to give myself a couple of little places where maybe I want to add some other little strokes. And these make really great little filler leaves or little filler flowers by just kind of working that stroke in. I like if you add some variation in the curling that you do, and then maybe coming back with a little comma stroke up on the end. Flip that around so that it feels really comfortable for you, and then let's carry it so that it comes into the design and then back out of the design in opposite ways. So I've got some curls coming in this way. I want to make sure that not everything else is following that same route. And then let's maybe cross over another set of petals or some little leaves. Filler leaves add interest, so do dots. So don't hesitate to maybe add some little designs or dots of your own. Maybe some commas to fill in some of the areas that might be a little bit more blank. So if you had this in the background and you wanted to incorporate it into the top design that you had, maybe you would want to add some little flowers. And so by just laying down and lifting up, you can add some little flowers within that. This is an easy way to do just some designing on your own. Maybe add some little centers to those. Giving yourself a little dab of color. If you want to get a little bit more sophisticated with that, you can create a flower of your own. We have these little flowers that grow here in Idaho in the early spring that I just love because they look a little bit like a pansy, only they're really teeny. So I'm going to load into my purple, tip into a little bit of a turquoise color. And again, I'm just going to use that stroke. So I'm going to bring that first one in, load back into my color, bring another one in, and when I study those little petals, they just look like comma strokes. They're so fun. I'm going to pull another stroke into that so that these can kind of unify. I like to move my paper around or my piece around when I'm working so that I'm pulling the strokes towards myself. It just makes it easier for me. It makes that stroke work just a little bit better. I pull these little top ones in. They're a little bit shorter than the ones down at the bottom. Add a couple little dots to there, and I have this sweet little flower that I don't know the name of that grows in the spring in my garden. And then maybe I'd want to have some petals or some little flowers that might come off of that. Some of those little ones that will come away from you. Other little leaf shapes that get tinier as I work along. And fill in. So there's no rules with this. You can just have fun with it. I really like when you take the strokes or you take the brush and you make it your own. So hopefully today's lesson helped you be a little bit more creative. Thanks and happy painting!